difficulties, but we're going to get it right. So welcome to Power of Attorney with LaTanya Moore. We're going to try this again. We're going to try this for a second time, right? So listen, today I'm sharing tips with you guys that I've learned from some PR gurus about how to be a guest that everyone wants, how to be that interview guest that everybody wants to interview. So we're going to try this. I don't know what's happening with my internet, but again, I want to apologize for that. We're going to get this right. Okay. We are definitely going to get this right. So again, thank you guys so much for being a part of Power of Attorney with LaTanya Moore. And I want to make sure that you guys know that anything that I say is really meant to edify, is really meant to give you some tools and tips, guys, that you can learn so that you can promote your business, your product, your service, your book in the best possible manner. So as you start to go and grow, you can think about some of these foundational things. And our hope is that they help you get the most out of what it is that you're trying to do, but most importantly, maximize profits and maximize your exposure. So again, tip number one, make sure that you promote it. Make sure every time you see it, you put it out and show gratitude. If you guys see, one of the things that I try to do, and I hope that I'm doing a good job, is making sure that anytime that there's any type of mention or anything like that, I make sure to promote and show gratitude, because it's not just promoting me and the fact that people want to interview me, but it's really showing everyone else that this is actually a media outlet that you need to reach out to. So they've interviewed me, why won't they interview you? So again, it's very vital that you sort of understand that it's not just the host or the radio station's responsibility to promote the fact that you're going to be on there. You want to make sure that your tribe knows so that you can also send support their way. But also you want to let your tribe know that, listen, people are interested in what I'm doing. People are interested in, I don't know, my CD. People are interested in my book. People are interested in my event, my product, my service, my input, my thought leadership, all of these things. What you're doing when you promote, you are showing that there is regional, local, national, even international interest in you and what you have to offer to this particular demographic. Okay. So again, very, very vital, guys, that you get that. One strategy that I would say, you want to make sure that you reach out to hosts. So this is on your end, right? Reach out to hosts and radio programming that fit the demographic that you are looking for. Because what it does, it makes the producer's life a lot easier when they've got a pitch, they already know it goes for their demographic. It makes it more likely that you are going to be booked. Now, I know that there are some, and we're talking about free publicity, right? We're not talking about paid publicity. We're not talking about any type of advertising or anything of that nature. We literally are talking about, you get on the show, you don't have to pay, you promote your product, okay? And so again, that's why when you are seeking out these opportunities, you want to make sure that there is a mutual benefit, meaning you want to make sure that the people that are hearing about your book, your product, your service, or whatever it is, guys, that you are promoting, you want to make sure that that's the demographic that you can probably convert into customers. You don't want to just put it out there because they have 1 million listeners. And let's say that if you're a person, for example, let's say that you do landscaping services and you have a local landscaping company, it probably wouldn't necessarily make sense for you to be on a show that talks about auto parts, because that they may or may not be looking for you. Now, again, what's the demographic, right? What's the topic? Now, that was probably a bad example, but you guys get what I'm saying. You got to make sure that the topic and the targets and all of those things, you got to make sure that all of that stuff benefits the demographic, but also benefits you. You want to make sure that this time that you're spending, you're marketing yourself to a ready-made audience of people that are more than likely going to buy your brand. That's why you have to ask certain questions. But again, the more publicity you have, because you can also take that, guys. Remember, I told you about promoting. Let people see that other people are interested in you. Okay, when I work with my clients, this is one of the things that I tell them. I'm not the marketing guru of our group, but one of the things that I share with my clients is every opportunity that you have to promote, cross promote, get publicity, be in some type of magazine, podcast. There are a lot of those now. Take that opportunity. It does not matter how small or how large, because at the end of the day, if this is a group that represents your demographic, they are potential customers and you can convert those customers. Okay, so it's very vital that you do that. Also, think about it. You want to have something, you want to make sure that the way that you bring your presentation across, that is something that is very relevant. If you are doing a local, let's say a local interview, you want to make sure that you tie something to that local market or to something that the host is doing or something that the station is trying to promote. You want to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, that you are relevant to that particular demographic. You want to make sure also that you're relevant, again, to the podcast, to the radio show, to the magazine. What is it that they are trying to promote? You know, because again, ahead of time, you should have already made the determination whether or not this is a media outlet that fits in line with your brand before you can reach out to them. So I'm making the assumption that you've already done that. Another thing, and this is a biggie, I can't speak for everybody, but let me tell you, when I saw this and I was looking through like some of the mainstream PR people and some advice that they give, this is the one thing that I know in my own podcast and our own TV show outside of this one, we look for people that can be conversational. So for those of you that have caught some of the other shows that I'm a part of, or for those of you that are podcast listeners, you know that it is very conversational. Even though we're giving information, even though there are people that come on, they're therapists, they write books, they're professionals, but at the end of the day, we have a real candid conversation. It's not a question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. There is nothing wrong with that, but people tend to be a lot more interested in what you have to say when they feel like it's a part of a conversation versus you just answering questions. So you want to work on that. If you're not very engaging, and you need to ask people, if you're not very engaging, you need to work on that, because you want to make sure, again, we're talking about the people that other people want to seek out to interview. There have been people that I've heard on other podcasts. I've seen them on someone else's show, and I'm like, I want to get them on my show. Like, I absolutely love what they're doing. And so I talk to my team and they make it happen for me. And I'm so grateful, even for that. So I even see people, for those of you that know, I am on social media a lot. And oftentimes I'm looking for opportunities to put people on a platform. But this is the one thing I look for. Are they interesting? They may be talking about something great, fabulous, and wonderful, but are they interested? Is this a person that my demographic is going to want to listen to? Are they going to want to follow? Are they going to want to turn around and patronize this particular thought leader? Are they going to want to buy the book? Does this person come across as salesy, or are they really just, for those of you that is old as I am, are they dropping some knowledge? Are they telling me something that I need right now in my life, and so I need to go and buy this book, or I need to attend their seminar? Very vital that you have a flow that keeps people interested. Okay. Again, very vital that you do this. Those of you that know, my podcast platform is pretty much just open. It takes a lot. This is why I'm bringing this up, because I know that these are things that I look for. I look for, and our whole team looks for, is this a person who is interested enough in their brand to put the time in to make sure from their end that the show is interesting as well? Because of course you never know for sure until you get there. So again, these are all things that you want to do. The other thing too is that, remember, that host may tell another host about you. I work with or talk with or collaborate with a lot of other podcasters, a lot of other people that do live streams, they do live interviews. Back in the day, we used to call them live remotes. I talk to a lot of people, and literally there are people that I've said, hey, you guys may be interested in interviewing this person. I think that they would be a good fit for this show and that show. I have a couple of networks that I just say, this person is a fabulous interview. I don't know, what you guys have planned, but maybe something for you to consider. And I have seen those people get interviews as long as they followed up. So again, very vital that you think about all of this. That one podcast that you say, well, I don't want to be a part of that podcast because they only have, 200 followers. But when you look at how many times people listen to the podcast, it could be thousands of listens. So again, you have to think about that. And is this podcast in a demographic? Because remember, the other part of it, guys, is that now you've still been in media. So the more that's out there about you, the more other people can find you. When you go and pitch and you want to be a part of this speaking engagement and that speaking engagement, one of the first things that organizers typically do, they're going to Google you. They're going to look at your social media. They're going to see what type of online presence you have. They're going to see if you promote other things. Because if you're not promoting anything, it means one of two things. Either you're not a person that promotes your podcast or anytime you're being interviewed, number one, or number two, you're not interesting enough for people to be interested in interviewing you. That's vital because that may make the difference between you being booked or not. Because these days, lots of people are interesting, okay? And so whoever it is that they're trying to book, they're gonna put someone before their crowd. So we wanna make sure that it's you. That's why publicity is so important. One of the things that I always ask, and this is not a requirement, but I will tell you that the people that do this tend to be in a position to convert people to clients is when they offer something. Whether it's a free ebook, go to my website and download my free ebook. Well, typically, you know what that comes with? That comes with an email address. Now you're able to build your list. If you don't offer anything, you're just hoping that someone might possibly remotely go to your website or reach out to you. But sometimes if you think about what can I offer, now I'm not telling you to offer people free services or a free book or free admission or anything of that nature. But is there something you can offer? Can you offer a discount, for example? Is there something that you already give away for free as part of your promotional materials that now you can gain access to these listeners so that they may potentially become clients or ambassadors or any of that? I've had people that have been, again, we talked about at the top of the hour, I was telling you guys that we just literally this morning, someone was a part of our magazine and now our magazine cover is now all over the place, right? Now that's not something that we really looked out for, but what if this person had not promoted the fact that they were profiled in our magazine or that their pictures were profiled in our magazine, right? What if they had not done that? So remember, I told you there's always some secondary benefits when you promote. I know oftentimes, again, you are showing that what you are doing is relevant, right? So for example, I use that example again, this particular person, a photographer, their pictures were in our magazine because of the person that we were profiling. Now, unbeknownst to me, but they now have international credit, right? For their for their photos being in an international publication. But they weren't even the target. It was the person who I was interviewing. See what I'm saying about when you start to make sure that you give credit where credit is due. For those of you, especially ladies, for those of you that have makeup artists that do your makeup for these beautiful pictures that you take, same thing with hair, same thing with clothing. Anyone that is investing in you, it's an opportunity to promote, right? So it's very vital because again, the more people that are attached, the more people that are promoting the fact that you've been on this podcast, that you've been in this online digital magazine, or you've been in an international print magazine and all of these things. So very vital, very important. Again, offering something is always great. It almost always will prompt a listener, a viewer, a reader to reach out to you. I'll give you guys an example. I was on a podcast and I think I may have shared this today or yesterday, but I was on a podcast where I was talking about single fathers and dating as it relates to custody and all of that, which is another side of my legal business. I had promoted this podcast and, again, kind of didn't think about it because it's been a couple of months ago. Well, I just saw it come back around because now someone else is promoting it because it helped them in a situation that they had. But in addition to that, then I've also had people call me and do consultations strictly because they heard me on that podcast. These are people that I would never, ever have had access to. This is why it's very important to offer something. This is why it's very important to encourage people to reach out to you so that, again, you can have the opportunity to potentially bring on clients. But even if that person is not a client, you still now, hopefully they have a good experience. I'm sure that they will. But now you have an ambassador that's going to say, well, when I had this situation, I called this lady, I'm using myself as an example. I called this lady from a podcast. This is how she was able to help me, right? So again, this is why promotion, this is why being interesting, this is why having that conversational style, it keeps people engaged. They feel like, okay, I can relate to that person. They understand my situation. They're not just answering this question. So for those of you that have time struggling with that, do like they used to teach us in speaker school back in the day. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror. That'll get you used to that conversational style. It's very, very important. Most people don't think about these things. Here's the biggie. As we kind of round this off, this is a biggie, guys. Stay on message. Stay on message. Remember, there's a reason that you're on this podcast. Don't let the host, don't let the questions that are coming from the audience, don't let some curveball take you down a path and now you can't even really promote what you were really trying to promote. I see this happen oftentimes with events. I see this happen so much. And so again, this is why you have to research the host. You have to see how they do things. I know, for example, on my podcast and on our shows, I always have a section of time where I ask people, where can they find your book? What else interesting, guys, do you know, what is it that you want to share with our audience? Because there's always something, right? There's always something that the person wants to share, even if it's just the fact that they have products and services, or they're doing a webinar, or again, they may be doing some type of event. It's very vital that you get that in. Because again, that's probably part of the primary purpose that you were a part of this particular podcast. Okay, same thing in print. You, as much as you can, be in control of what is written. We've had situations, even with our magazine, where people didn't like what was written because we wrote it, you know, based on an interview. And so we had to kind of work those things out. And we did. We worked it out as best we could. And so, but what's important is that you have to always remember that that this is your brand, and you have a purpose behind why you're doing this beyond just being in a magazine, just being on a podcast. This is why I wanted to share this with you guys, because I started looking at some commonalities as I was researching something for a client, but I started looking at some commonalities and I said, well, shoot, this would be a great topic to share with some people on the show, because remember, I told you guys, publicity is where it's at, because you don't have to pay for it, right? You do not have to pay for it. That's why you need to pay attention when someone's saying, hey, I'm looking for some articles. I'm looking for people to write. I give people opportunities. If someone say, hey, you know, I saw that you guys are doing this. I'd love to write an article for your magazine. If it fits, oftentimes we publish it. Now, of course, it has to be something that fits, but you guys understand what I'm saying. We're doing a pay it forward campaign that's, you get a full page to promote whatever it is, who you are, what you do, and you can put whatever it is you want to put in there. That's what we've been doing. But you have to find that announcement, because we're keeping it all in the same place. We only have a few slots left. Again, that's our first wave of the Pay It Forward campaign. Now, as time is winding down, I'm going to announce this, but it's not going to come out for probably until next week, because I'm going to be out of town this week. So the next phase of our Pay It Forward campaign is that we are going to be offering free business strategy coaching. Free business strategy coaching. It is only going to post for one day. It is only going to be open for 24 hours. Okay. So it's going to post throughout the day, one day next week. And the opportunity is only going to be open 24 hours. Okay. It's a limited number of people. That's going to be our next Pay It Forward. That's going to be our next Pay It Forward campaign. Again, I want to thank you guys for being a part of Power of Attorney with LaTanya Moore. We are here weekdays, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. This week, we're going to have a little bit of a truncated show just because I'm out of town. But again, that doesn't stop me from bringing you the programming that I promised. So again, thank you guys so much for being a part of Power of Attorney with LaTanya Moore. Super excited to bring you the programming. Guys, keep sending me those topics. These are the topics that you guys are sending me. I'm not making these things up. But again, thank you guys so much for being a part of Power of Attorney with LaTanya Moore. For those of you that want to know a little bit more about me and what I do, go to www.latanyamore.com. That's www.latanyamore.com. You can also check out I Protect Your Brand with LaTanya Moore. There's lots of information there, lots of reviews. You guys can just sort of see other people's experiences with working with us and things that we do. So guys, listen, until tomorrow, have a fabulous and productive day.